Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome.
There's a time when the operation of the machine becomes so odious, makes you so sick at heart that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part. And you've got to put your bodies upon the gears and upon the wheels, upon the levers, upon all the apparatus, and you've got to make it stop. And you've got to indicate to the people who run it, to the people who own it, that unless you're free, the machine will be prevented from working at all. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
As long as the Matrix exists, the human race will never be free.
Start somewhere. It has to start sometime. What better place than here? What better time than now?
Terrorists! Terrorize this.
I know you're out there. I can feel you now. I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change. I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how it's going to begin. I'm going to hang up this phone, and then I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see. I'm going to show them a world without you. A world without rules and controls, without borders or boundaries. A world where anything is possible. Where we go from there is a choice I leave to you.
That's right, people. It's always up to us. Greetings, freethinkers, preppers, stargazers, and future civilian internee camp liberators. It is Monday, March 5th, 2012, and you have found yourselves one step closer to breaking the chains of bondage here on the front lines in this war on our humanity. I am your host, Darren Stone, broadcasting to you live from FEMA Region 1. That's right. It's still the number one FEMA region. Nothing changes. Unless we change it. Come on, let's change it. I don't want to live in a FEMA region. Do you? It's ridiculous. All right, tonight's call-in number is 917-889-3064. All callers are welcome because, remember, kids, wondering what that bright light in the sky is next February is not the time to let your voice be heard. So, 917-889-3064. That bright light in the sky next February. Yeah, we got some news about stuff falling out of the sky. But first, let's do the normal plugs. Frontradio.net. Go over there, check it out. I'm not sure how much longer it's going to be there, but while it's there, check it out. From there, you can get to our Facebook page, our Twitter, and our YouTube. Little note on the YouTube page. If you may have noticed, the last episode is not uploaded to the YouTube page, and I'm doing my best. I'm having some issues getting getting the shows loaded up there. I'm learning how to do it, so as soon as I get that down, the episodes will start going up there again for as long as that channel is there. Also, let me plug some friends, some truther friends out there. Revolution will be televised. You guys know him as Zach. He's been calling in, spearheaded the little fundraiser for the Front Radio show last week. Good guy. So check out his page. Revolution will be televised on Facebook. Also, governmentrag.com. My friend Stephanie Sledge. All the latest truth headlines, the real stuff, not CNN, not Fox, not MSNBC, and whatever else is out there, ABC, CBS, all that stuff, not like that, the real stuff, governmentrag.com. Also, FukushimaFacts.com for all your Fukushima information, radiation mitigation information. I could probably rap that if I actually tried. What else do I have? Oh, Behind the Curtain, the new fledgling, well, not so fledgling anymore. I think 160-something people on that page now, but check it out, Behind the Curtain on Facebook. And also, last but not least, Rad Chick, you know, she did it to me again. I was actually going to message her and say, Rad Chick, are you putting out a new report? Because it's about that time, and I didn't do it. And what do you know, about 10 minutes ago, out comes a new report. So I don't have it ripped for you guys. I just posted it up at the Front's Facebook page. If you want to go check it out, I haven't even listened to it myself yet. I just put it up there so I could tell you it was there. So check it out on the Front's Facebook page. So there we go. Look, we have a lot of stuff, man. As I'm doing the show description tonight, I don't think I've had this much space and Earth news, Earth as in the nature on the planet kind of news, in a while. So you can see the majority of tonight's stuff is outer space and some Earth weather stuff. But I do have a big segment on the will of the American people hasn't been broken. And I saw a very interesting movie last night called Lunopolis. It's streaming on Netflix. Check it out. It's got some pretty cool. It's not the most well-made movie. I can get into watching a movie if it just has an interesting story, and it doesn't have to be the highest budget or anything like that. I don't really care. If I can get into the story and the concept of the whole thing, I can get into it. Lunopolis, it was pretty cool. It was basically about people living on the moon. They've always lived there, and they basically work on the moon for the government. It goes through, it deals with different dimensions and history, and just got a really cool concept, I thought. So check it out, Lunopolis. I don't even know why I went off on that tangent, but check it out. So, because I'm talking about space stuff, that's why. All right. By the way, everybody, very little sleep last night, so this should be entertaining. Tonight, so we'll deal with some space stuff. We have the space station. You guys heard NASA getting laptops stolen all over the place. How does that happen? I don't know. It boggles the mind. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the show in the intro there, next February, I guess the Earth is threatened by an asteroid. So, and hello to everybody in chat. Little thin in there. Invite your friends, your family. Tell them to come on in. So I guess the planet is actually now threatened by an asteroid. Supposed to be here next February. So even if 2012 doesn't end up being the apocalypse, we have something else to look forward to. Something else. And like I said, I have America's spirit. Has it been broken? Have they broken us? Was there even a spirit to begin with? Was it all perception? I don't know. And the Japanese, they invented a speech jamming gun. Perhaps they might want to work on a radiation cleanup gun instead. Don't know. Just an idea. But first, and I have some listener emails. I have 2 listener emails that I'm going to read. So all you listeners, I hope you don't mind if I read your emails on air. I won't say who it's from, but I'm going to address it on air. So let's start out with that, all right? First is from a listener who I'm going to call Aphrodite891 per their request. They hail from Cyprus, which is a little island in the Mediterranean right off the coast of Greece. And this email, Aphrodite emails me once in a while to give me the scoop, the lowdown, what's going on in Greece. And this is what she has to say. She says, "Hi, Darren. I hope my email finds you doing well. I just wanted to give you an update on how things are going in Greece. The financial collapse of the country has caused many Greeks, especially the younger generation, to look back to their roots for sustenance and hope. Many young city dwellers are returning back to the villages of their grandparents. The countryside is bountiful and very productive agriculturally. People are returning in droves to renovate ancestral homes and farms. The majority of these local refugees are eager to learn the farming practices and lifestyle of their grandparents. That includes organic gardening and homesteading. Stories are also beginning to appear of young people turning their village homes into bed and breakfasts and traditional taverns, as well as rejuvenating the abandoned fruit orchards and grape vineyards. There is a renewed appreciation for the simple life in the village and the time-honored fact that when you respect and take care of the earth, it will sustain and take care of you. And then she gives me permission to use this little tidbit of news on the air. So, you see, contrary to what Bill Gates wants you to believe, and that only massive biotech corporations, which he just purchased $500 shares worth of Monsanto stock, of course he's going to come out and tell you that in order to sustain life on the planet as we know it, genetically modified crops are going to have to be introduced into the whole system. That's it. If we don't do that, we're all going to die. That's what Bill Gates wants you to believe. But you see, people's natural tendency, if given the opportunity, would most likely, I'm not saying all people, look, there are generations upon generations of entitlement in this country and many other countries, and some of those people just cannot see or think anywhere past that. So, but I will just say, the nature of the human spirit, I believe, personally, would be to try to take care of yourself and the people in your immediate area by working with the land. And this is what we see, and Bill Gates wants you to be dependent on a corporation for your food when sustainability and treating the planet in a proper way, being environmentally friendly, not polluting. You see, anytime a corporation produces something, think about the trail of pollution, the trail of toxicity that follows along with that production, the shipping, the packaging, the distribution, the labeling. I mean, all of that stuff, goes into it. Yes, do all those things create jobs? Yes, they do. But that's not the only thing that will create jobs. And so what we see is the Greek financial system collapsing, and people are saying, you know what? Screw the rat race. It's gotten me nowhere. I mean, if you're a guy like me that's almost in my mid-40s, and most of my life, most of your life you've been chasing the dollar, chasing the retirement, chasing all that stuff, the chances are that it's not going to be there for you. Greece is not an isolated incident, everybody. You should all know that by now. It's a systemic issue, and it's not Greece's fault either. We went over how the IMF works on the last show with that little clip I played from John Perkins, explaining how a country's infrastructure is basically held for ransom on a loan debt, and the country can never get out. And that's what's happened with Greece. And all you have to do is just look at it. You don't have to be a conspiracy theorist. You don't have to be anything like that. You just look at Greece and see this is the third time they're talking about an economic bailout for Greece, and it never helps. Why didn't it help the first time? Why did the stock market rally every time they say they're going to help Greece out, or Greece is, they're coming to some type of decision with Greece's finances? I mean, it's all just a sham and a scam. It doesn't mean a thing. And so when you spend your life chasing these dollars like that, chasing this, and I understand, believe me, I'm severely lacking dollars, and that's how you know that you live in a slave society, when you are dependent on something you cannot create to sustain yourself. That's it. It's a big red flag, and it's blindingly obvious to anybody that really wants to open their eyes and open their mind. So there you go. That's some good news from Greece. I'm sure they're going to go through some hard times, and I don't think we've seen the end of the government stepping in. I think that those people that are trying to return to their roots and to their family history by going back into the countryside and trying to sustain themselves and each other, they're not going to leave you alone out there. They won't. But what this will do is, as people try to move back to that type of living, and the government even intrudes onto that, well, I think that even more people's eyes will be open to what's going on. It forces the government And I say that as if the Greek government is a separate entity. I mean governments everywhere. It forces them to show to show their hand and to show really where their line of thinking is. So that's good news. Good news from Greece. I'd like to hear that. And comment in chat. Yes, they do not want us to grow our own gardens in the U.S. No, they do not. They do not. Actually, I remember last growing season. I believe it was somewhere in Georgia, where they were offering people who grew gardens to license their garden with the city in exchange for some money, and then their garden would be subjected to all types of city ordinances and inspections. Also, they'd have to have inspections, and that actually took place in Georgia. And here in Massachusetts, the pulse of FEMA Region 1, they a couple of years ago during the H1N1 pandemic debacle, they were trying to pass the martial law bill. And what the martial law bill was going to do in Massachusetts was it was actually going to make it illegal for you to put a tomato in your car and drive it to your neighbor's house and give it to them, because they would say the food was unsafe. They hadn't inspected it yet. The bureaucrats hadn't inspected it yet. Comment in chat. How about hydroponic gardening? Yep, same thing. Didn't matter because they put it under the guise of having to inspect the food. Having to inspect the food. And so didn't matter where you grew. You could grow it on your counter, in your basement, hydroponically, in a green. It didn't matter. Didn't matter. It needed to be inspected. It's the same line of thinking as we see with these girls getting these little girls getting their lemonade stands closed down. It's the same deal. We don't know who made the lemonade. We don't know how the lemonade was made. We don't know what's in the lemonade. It was, I don't know, what's the name of brand of lemonade powder? I don't even know. It's Minute Maid lemonade. Minute Maid made it. The FDA approved it. I just put it in your city tap water. I didn't do anything. No, comment in chat. No, the law did not pass in Massachusetts. It narrowly was defeated. It was narrowly defeated. Narrowly defeated. All right. Second email from another listener. Here's 2 quick questions this listener has. It says, hi, Darren, just 2 quick questions. One, have you done a lot of research on remote viewing and Mr. Ed Dane's track record? The answer to that is no, I have not. I finally got around to watching his interview you posted on YouTube, and it made an unsettling amount of sense based on what I do know. As you realize, there is so much stuff hidden from the public that it's just not a matter of, quote, a few missing pieces of the puzzle, but a lot of major parts of the puzzle. That's the NWO takeover, and all that it encompasses are missing, making it difficult to connect the dots in a logical manner. Well, I agree. But sometimes I look at it like this. Look, all the things we talk about the NWO, about all these things that we talk about, right? We could be completely wrong. We could be 100% wrong on the things we think are true. We could be, honestly. When I watched that movie Lunopolis last night, let me just give you a quick premise, and I'll tell you why I say that, what I just did. The premise was that there were basically they were humans, but they were different, okay? And they lived for a very, 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 very long time. And they had the ability to maneuver through time, okay? And so what the premise of the movie was, with all these great people that we supposedly know of in history, those people were basically these types of people, okay, that live amongst us. And because they could maneuver through time, they basically would go back and try to do something. If it didn't work, they just go back and do it again and do it again and do it again. And then when they finally got it right, or they finally got it the way they wanted to, like let's say, for instance, the Wright brothers learning to fly, okay? Let's say the Wright brothers were these types of people. Well, they kept going back to the starting point until they got it right, and then they were like, okay, then they didn't go back anymore, then they just continued to live on from there. So they were responsible for creating this. So when we talk about putting pieces together for the NWO takeover of the world, my personal opinion is that we've been taken over a long time ago. It's the fact that we all see things so apparently now that they pretty much don't care. And they're getting ready to move us into the final stages, the obvious stages of the agenda, you know. Now, like I said, all of that could be 100% wrong. Could be. And the reason that we would know it was wrong, or that we could say it might be wrong, is because we can't really prove a lot of it, right? So, I mean, I can't prove to you that there's 13 crown families that rule the world because I can't bring them to you and show them to you and have them confess to it. I can't. But what we can summarize is, from all the things that we see, is the things that aren't done to make humanity better, that there is power to do. There's technology that can be used for good but isn't, you know, and a blinding example of that is HAARP. You know, there should be no starvation in drought, you know, stricken countries, because HAARP technology, actually not even HAARP technology, seeding the cloud technology has been around since 1952. So no problem making it rain if people wanted to grow vegetation. And that's how you know most poverty, most starvation, most of these things are actually allowed to happen, or maybe even preferred to happen. So, and as far as Major Ed Dane's track record, honestly, I don't know. I may have seen some more Ed Dane stuff before that video, but what this video was, you guys, so you know, it was basically Ed Dane's talking about remote viewing. What remote viewing is the ability. It's what the movie Men Who Stare at Goats was based upon. Pretty good movie too. I liked it. And remote viewing is basically the ability to pull yourself out of your physical body and project yourself anywhere that you want to be and actually look at it and see it. And that could even be in the future. That could be in the past. It could be in the present. It could be anywhere. Anywhere. Now, the United States military actually had this was a project that they were working on, and oh boy, I'm not going to remember the guy's name. That was the most popular guy that was in charge of that project. I'm not going to remember his name. It's a very strange last name though. But anyway, so the military basically, this is something that sounds hokey to most people, but the military believed that it was an actual ability, and I'm sure that they still do, and I'm sure that it is. Because I can't prove it's not, neither can you. All you can do is just go, oh, I don't believe that, and then that's your decision. You don't believe it? I'll keep an open mind, and I think that as human beings, we're very, very, very powerful. I believe that there's a lot to us that they don't want us to know, and I believe that's the single most that's the single biggest reason for the oppression of the masses of humanity. And when people think of oppression, they think of, you know, Darfur or, you know, I don't know, North Korea. They don't think of America, you know, but we are severely oppressed here, people. Believe me. You don't go to work your whole life and give most of what you earn away. You don't spend your only life that you're aware of that you have, you know, trying to pay your bills and your taxes, you know. So I think that's really probably the number one reason. Again, I can't prove it, but there has to be a reason for the oppression, the suppression, and the control mechanism of humanity. All right, so on to his second question. Number 2, as a personal trainer, do you endorse the use of coffee, caffeine as an energy for workouts, or do you believe that too much caffeine can burn out the adrenal gland and or have an adverse effect on blood sugar levels? It's been shown that caffeine used by athletic people prior to performance sessions actually boosts performance and has a positive effect on the athlete during the training. Can you burn out the adrenal gland doing it? Well, I don't know if you'll actually burn the adrenal gland out, but you can build up a resistance to a stimulant like caffeine as far as for working out and things like that go. And that's why I would I would tell people, clients and myself, only use, a caffeine-based supplement or, a strong cup of whatever that has caffeine, coffee or whatever it would be, just on the days that you exercise, and that way, you don't mess with your body's natural ability to get you up, and you'll actually enhance the performance of your training session, which will yield more results in the end. So no, I have no issue with that at all. Let's see where else. It goes on to say, if you ever want to cover how the alternative media can be misleading just as the mainstream media has, and how the alternative media has a lot of government misinformation plants, that might make an interesting part of one of your future shows. I'm not trying to name call obvious liars and fearmongers like Alex Jones, but it is possible that some of your listeners, myself included, have or still go to the wrong or misleading places for accurate, honest, and comprehensive information. Alternative media sites should not avoid any topics of import. I agree 100%. They should not, and they should also be open-minded to all views. As I said before, none of us have this all figured out. None of us have it all figured out. I don't care what website it is, what radio show you're listening to, none of that stuff. Nobody has it all figured out. In fact, we're all just a bunch of speculators. That's all we are. That's it. And it's not for me to tell you who to listen to. I mean, look, I have some standards as far as that I have as far as who I'll listen to and what is their intent. To me, intent is a very, very important factor in trying to deliver the truth as you know it. Okay? So, when I see radio programs or alternative media basically filling hours of airtime with what I like to call conspiracy fluff, I have to question that. What I would call conspiracy fluff would be something that's interesting, but really, even if you know it to the very last detail, isn't really going to give you any more insight to anything. You already know something is definitely wrong. You already can tell that you're not being told the truth. So why would you need to go into great detail about the supposed satanic ritual killing of Whitney Houston so you could fill 2 hours of your airtime? I think it might be the difference between somebody that does this because they feel the need to do it and somebody that does this because they want to make money at doing it or they want to make a career out of it. Now, that being said, would I like to make a career out of doing this? Sure, I would. If I could do it exactly how I want to do it, if I didn't have to worry about revenue being my number one priority. But you see, when you're doing it for a living, that's how it's going to be. I don't think there's really any way around that, unless we move to a complete barter system and we just trade stuff, But if somebody else is writing you a paycheck or you're at the mercy of advertisers or whatever it's going to be, or you're, I don't know, you're out there trying to hawk stuff, DVDs, videos, whatever it's going to be. I don't have a problem with that because it's a double-edged sword. But what I would say is look for the conspiracy fluff. If it seems like you're just being handed a bunch of details in order to fill time, then, use your own discretion. I just wonder how many times people need to hear the same stuff over and over again. And I also wonder, how many supposed truther or alternative, whatever the label is you want to give it, how many of these programs we actually have to listen to? I mean, there comes a time where we have to stop listening and we have to start doing. We have to stop talking behind the microphone. We have to start doing. I'm itching to do, really, to be honest with you. If you notice, most of the things I talk about, I'll take them and I'll spin it into a way where it affects us on the grand stage. It would be extremely easy to work, to be a Rush Limbaugh. It would be easy. All I need to do is point fingers at the other party. That's all I need to do all day. I mean, who can't do that? That's no talent. That doesn't give anybody insight. That just gets people riled up and keeps people divided. You know? Yeah, like rehashing 9/11. I mean, my God, you know what? None of us will ever know really what happened that day. So why do we go over and over? All we know is that what happened, what the official story is not the official story. And that's even coming from the 6 out of 10 members of the 9/11 Commission report. So it just, you don't need to go into the details. I don't need to try to prove if it's scalar weapons, if it was super nanothermate. I don't need to prove any of that. It doesn't matter to me. To me, that just wastes time. And you know what? If you spend your life digging into these details, then they have beat you already because you have wasted your time not enjoying the nice things, not enjoying the good things, but trying to figure out every detail so you can win some type of argument with somebody. To me, so that's my view on this whole alternative media, Patriot Radio, Truther Radio, whatever you want to call it. There's a very popular, and I'm not going to name the name, okay? I'm not going to name the name. There's a very popular alternative website that I actually got into an argument, unbeknownst to me, with one of the guys that run it. I approached him in a thread on the interwebs to have an open conversation about, or I made a comment about Ron Paul and just the foolishness of, the whole thing, to be honest with you. That's my opinion on it. You don't have to agree. And rather than having a rational debate or maybe just giving me, his version, I have now been, let's say, what's the word? Blackballed. I've been blackballed by one of the most popular alternative websites / podcasting, organizations out there. They don't like me anymore. Just because I want to have open conversation. I mean, so much for free speech if I go against whatever their agenda is. I wasn't aware. Shame on me for not assuming that they had an agenda. So I learned. And I won't even tell you. They actually tried to. They actually prevented me from spreading, my view on things. Through a medium that they were allowing me to use. So, as you can see, it's really, for a lot of these people, it's really not all about. It's really not all about spreading the truth. It's not about that. In a lot of these circumstances, it's about self-promotion and trying to gain the biggest listening audience. Look, if I was really after numbers of people to listen to this program, you guys wouldn't be listening to me on Blog Talk Radio. I'd be somewhere else. And I'd be going for numbers. So that's just my view on that. So, anyways, there's a little more to this email, but I need to get rolling here on the program. But thank you, guys, for sending these emails in. And I decided I do get some. I mean, not every day, but I get some really great emails from listeners. And I think I'm going to start if I get more, or the ones that I get, I'm going to read them on the air. So if you're out there and you do email the show, let me know if you want me to read your email on the air. All right. I think we have Zach on the line from Revolution Will Be Televised, so let's grab this call. Hey, Zach, what's happening?
What's going on, man? How are you? I was just listening to the show, but I appreciate you putting me on.
oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that you listened this way.
All good, man. I just want to make a quick point, and I'll let you go, man. You were talking about, people just out there trying to spread the truth to get famous or, get numbers and
self-promote.
Right, self-promotion, things of that such. If people, I don't think a lot of people are aware, and if they are, good. If they're not, but there is a lot of infiltration even in the truth movement. And that's anything. They've the globalists have infiltrated religion, politics, and they can infiltrate the truth movement because they see that a lot of people are together. They don't want us to unite. You know, they keep us separated by these little small differences. You know, maybe someone doesn't agree with this or doesn't agree with that, but overall we do agree. But they keep us separated by, you know, especially with the left-right paradigm, Democrats, Republicans, they're all the same. You know, these guys, you know, I always compare Democrats and Republicans to like wrestlers. On camera, they hate each other, but after it's over with, you know, they're going to have a beer together after the show's over with. Same way with Democrats and Republicans. They, you know, in the public eye and in the media, they hate each other, you know, but, you know, once the cameras are off, you know, they're going hunting and fishing and wondering how they can scheme more people out of dollars, you know.
Yeah. Bill Clinton and Bush, they did a speaking tour up in Canada a couple months ago together.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize. You know, they're all talking about liberals and conservatives and, you know, Republicans, Democrats, and even in religion, you got all these different denominations of religion. This is all a plot to keep everyone divided because they know if we people as a people come together, we'll take this whole system down. That's the thing. They know if we come together, we're going to take the whole system down. Yeah. You know, and that's the agenda. And it's sad that a lot of people still harp on one little thing. I mean, we get it all the time. Me and JGI, we get it all the time. Somebody, one little thing they don't like, you know, and they're like, oh, I'm out of here. You know, this page is garbage and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's what they want. You keep that mindset, and you'll never go anywhere because of the mindset you have that you feel like, okay, our overall goal is to get information to people and for us to unite. Why do I always, anything I post, a lot of times I tell people whenever they post, we work for the people. We want everybody to get together. Same thing you want. You always talk about how we as a people have to overcome this new world order. You know, and people can't get that through their heads. They still want to go with a divide and conquer strategy, and it works on a lot of people. You know, that's just it. They'll tell you you're conservative or you're liberal or you should, you know, you talk about you're right wing or you're left wing, and listen, no, I'm not any wing. I'm not any Republic or Democrat. I'm not any of them. I'm freedom. I want freedom is what I want, and I want this whole. You know, I hate to have to report on all this bad information every day. I hate to report on people dying because they're bombed or murders or they're stealing money from us or they're, you know, using food as weapon, stealing our water, putting fluoride in our water, poisoning us with vaccines. I hate to report on all these things. These things are horrible things to have to report on.
It wears on you. It wears on you. You know, it wears on your spirit. It really does. You know, you have to like pull your head out of it. I mean, honestly, Zach, when after I do a show, I don't look at anything the next day. I usually do nothing that has to do with this. You know? Right.
I mean, I myself, you know, I have to take a break every now and then because it's just too damn depressing at times to think about that every day I'm going to go and I'm going to think about this. This is not, like I say all the time, this is just my future or your future. This is everybody's future. And people don't, I mean, they you know, they want to they want to harp on one little thing or one little piece of information. You know what? Forget that. It's all about us getting together, unite. Okay, right. Well, you know, let's unite under freedom. Let's unite against tyranny. You know, right. and I mean, the whole NDAA thing and all of that should have really just woke up on massive scales, in my personal opinion. That should have just woken people up on a massive scale. And so it didn't seem like, you know, only I saw where it woke people up, but I don't think it woke enough people up. And, you know, we got to get people together. They have just, you know, are lulled to sleep by BS. And you know, and I say it, and I'll say it again. You know, we just got to stop harping on the little bitty things and start looking at the bigger picture. And you know, you bring a great message because you're always like, you know, no politician's gonna save us. We got to save ourselves, and that's true. We have to save ourselves. And
right. And I got called a defeatist by one of the main alternative news sources in this movement, I got called a defeatist because that was my outlook on it. And I'm like, I'm saying that we do the work. How is that being a defeatist? You know, you guys are pushing for some, old guy to go in there and save your ass. I'm saying let's put it on our shoulders. Let's fix it ourselves. We don't need that. You can put somebody like that. If you want to be led by somebody like that down the road, once things are settled down and you got rid of all the bad element, then that's fine. But, to believe that one guy is going to come in and change everything, that's what a lot of people believed 4 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
That's what people believe every 4 years. Every 4 years, people believe the same shit.
Yep. They believed in Bush's, his read my lips, no new taxes. That was BS. Same song and dance, Same way with W. Bush, same song and dance. And then Obama came in with hope and change and all that. Yes, we can. Yes, we can make our economy and our lives even worse is what he's done. And people I hate when people give you the cop-out that, hey, if you don't like your country, then why don't you leave? You know what? I want my country the way it was, the way it's supposed to be. I was born here. I was raised here. This is my country, and this is how it should be. Those are the ones that tell you, oh, if you don't like it here, you should leave. Those are the sheeple. Those are the zombies who are happy exactly the way it is. And those are the ones that will be staring at you from behind a FEMA camp begging you to come save their ass.
That's right. That's why I call us future FEMA camp liberators.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I'm not going to take up much of your time, man. I appreciate you getting me on, dude. And like I said, keep doing what you're doing. You are making a difference. Anybody who's putting that message out there and is pushing day after day, you're making a difference. Believe me. Even though you think you're not, you are. So,
all right, man. I appreciate it.
All right, man. All right, take care.
All right, buddy.
Bye-bye.
All right, so there he goes. Great caller. Oh, crap. I hope I didn't just disconnect his ability to listen to the program. Sorry if I did that, Zach. Call back and I won't answer. All right, so let's get on to the actual stuff for the show here. I'm just going to say something about look, was it not even a week ago, a little bit more than a week ago? I believe it was NOAA. I can't remember if it was NOAA or not for sure, but somebody with some supposed credentials said this will be the worst tornado season. And what do you know? 82 tornadoes touched down last Friday, tear apart Indiana and South Carolina, I think. Just unbelievable. And I believe that the entire season's worth of tornadoes took place in that one day. So, I just wanted to talk about it for a second, just to, show some respect to everybody that's gone through that stuff down there. I think I'm a little more sensitive to the tornado thing since we actually suffered from one up here. I didn't personally, but the entire area did. But there's a story out of this about a baby who got sucked out of her house, and they found her in a field, I believe it was 10 miles away. And I guess this baby, she's 15 months old. Angel Babcock is her name, and she actually passed away. I don't know if it was today or yesterday, but she didn't make it. Her whole family was killed during the tornadoes. But the National Weather Service in Louisville, Kentucky, said the tornado that struck New Perkin measured an F3 on the enhanced Fujita scale, while another tornado that struck nearby Henryville, Indiana, measured an F4 and packed winds of 175 miles an hour. The one that ripped through here was an F3, so that thing was just huge. I can't imagine an F5 that hit, what was it last year, that devastated that town? I think it was in Alabama. I can't remember the name. But anyway, I just thought I should speak a little bit about it just to show some respect. So you guys all know what's going on with all that stuff. It's all over the place. Just unbelievable. So look, prepare, get prepped up, have your food, your water, your lighting, someplace to get underground if you have to. No, it wasn't Tuscaloosa that got wiped. It was the town that got wiped off, that completely got wiped off the map. last year. I would remember it if I heard the name. They're just unbelievable, those things. And I think, my personal opinion, we're going to be seeing tornadoes like we've never seen before. I don't know about this year, but soon. All right, on to the NASA debacle. Okay. Is anybody else having a hard time with this? Contemplating how this is actually true and how this happens? NASA admits stolen laptop contained control codes, the control codes for the International Space Station. Yes, it was Joplin. Thank you. Thank you in chat. It was Joplin. Joplin, Missouri, wasn't it? Joplin, Missouri. Yes, I agree. Comment in chat. FEMA Region 1 may get hit again. Yes, we were actually in the path of this storm system, but it died out before it got to us. It was real cold here too, so I kind of doubted it, but hey, you never know. But anyway, NASA admits stolen laptop contained control codes for the International Space Station. Laptop was unencrypted, and among 48 stolen laptops in the last 2 years from NASA. 48 laptops stolen from NASA in the last 2 years. And this one, they say, had control codes for the International Space Station. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration has revealed that the laptop stolen in 2011 contained command codes for controlling the International Space Station. NASA said the unencrypted computer went missing in March last year and resulted in the loss of the algorithms used to command and control the International Space Station. Are there people up there right now? Are they like, do they know? You know, like, who's driving this thing? The Huffington Post reports that NASA Inspector General Paul K. Martin made the revelation during his testimony before a Science, Space, and Technology House subcommittee on Wednesday. However, despite Martin's admission, NASA said that it had at no point in time was the ISS in jeopardy because of a data breach. So you know, I guess just leaving the control codes for the ISS on random laptops and having people, they say, steal them isn't a big deal. Not a big deal. And yes, good observation in the chat room. Why are we hearing about this now in 2011? Well, because maybe he was under oath. I don't know. Not that I think that really matters in any type of a House subcommittee, but that could just be the conspiracy theorist in me. Quote, NASA has made significant progress to better protect the agency's IT systems and is in the process of implementing the recommendations made by NASA Inspector General in this area, end quote. NASA Public Affairs Officer Trent Perotto is quoted as telling Security News Daily. I think NASA spends something like $56 billion in security every year, but they're getting around to it, you guys. They're getting around to not having as many laptops, unencrypted laptops stolen from them. They're working on it. Look, they only get $50-something billion in security, funds. So I don't know what you want them to do. They're barely getting by. Martin said on Wednesday that the laptop was one of 48 notebooks or mobile devices stolen between April 2009 and April 2011. What's more, NASA was in 2011 the target of 47 advanced persistent threats. 13 of these successfully compromised NASA computers. Quote, these incidents spanned a wide continuum from individuals testing their skill to break into NASA systems. Oh, testing their skill to break. Hey, let me test it out. I'm going to break into NASA because I'll just test it. I'll take a chance on having the FBI show up to my house and get charged with cybercrime. But I'll chance it. I'll risk it. What? I don't know. I'm no hacker, so maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. It just seems silly to me. Let's see. To intrusions that may have been sponsored by foreign intelligence services seeking to further the country's objectives. Martin is quoted by MSNBC as saying, MSNBC reports that the attacks are among more than 5,000 attacks in 2010 and 2011 that saw unauthorized intrusions or malware planted on NASA systems, and the cost the agency roughly $7 million. Well, 7 million's a drop in the bucket when you get 50-something billion. It's a lame excuse. Martin said software vulnerabilities in NASA machines often go unpatched, and only 1% of NASA mobile devices are encrypted. He said that until the space agency can implement an agency-wide encryption policy, data stored on mobile devices will remain at high risk. Wow. Talk about nobody taking responsibility for anything. But I've had a conversation with a friend of mine about the space station before, and as soon as I saw this story, it made me think of the Hopi Blue Star prophecy. The Hopi Blue Star prophecy, for those that aren't familiar, prophesizes the transition from the fourth world to the fifth world. Some New Agers and hippies like to call it the moving into the age of Aquarius. Same thing. But the Hopi Blue Star prophecy consists of 9 signs that are supposed to take place throughout history before the transition time period begins, or the final transition time period. And that time period basically coincides with a sister star flying by and trashing the planet. We all know that as Planet X. So does NASA, except they forgot they said that back in 1983. But the Hopi Blue Star prophecy, this is the 9th and final sign. This is what it says. It says, quote, "You will hear of a dwelling place in the heavens, above the earth, that shall fall with a giant crash. It will appear as a blue star. Very soon after this, the ceremonies of my people will cease." I don't know where else there's a dwelling place in the heavens, but if you decide to go Google the Hopi Blue Star prophecy, you will see the 9 signs and, make your own mind up about it. Actually, the Hopi approached the United Nations on 3 separate occasions to try to speak about the Blue Star prophecy, and I believe they were actually granted permission to speak twice, if I'm not mistaken. So they take this pretty seriously, and I'm sorry, I'll believe a Hopi Indian before I'll believe a Washington politician any day. All right, so there you go. International Space Station being controlled by some guy that stole a laptop, but NASA says no big deal. No big deal. Keeping with our space theme, this little gem kind of scooted through a little bit unnoticed. It's titled "Blast It or Paint It: Asteroid to Threaten Earth in 2013. Yep. To avert a possible catastrophe, this time set for February 2013, scientists suggest confronting asteroid 2012 DA14. That's what they named this thing. Asteroid 2012 DA14. All you numerology conspiracists out there, what does that DA14 stand for? I don't know. This is how they want to combat this asteroid. They either want to paint it or shoot it. But the problem with all that is that time has long run out to do anything like that, because they don't have enough time to construct anything to carry out either of those measures by the time this thing gets here. NASA's data shows the 60-meter asteroid spotted by Spanish stargazers in February will whistle by Earth in 11 months. Its trajectory will bring it within a hair's breadth of our planet, raising fears of a possible collision. The asteroid, known as DA14, will pass by our planet in February 2013 at a distance of under 27,000 miles. This is closer than the orbit of some satellites. DA is 14 backwards. Okay. Oh, yeah, 1 and 4, right? First and fourth letter. Yeah, see? We have smart people listening to this program. This isn't like yours. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So that's closer than a lot of satellites out there. There's a possibility the asteroid will collide with Earth, but further calculation is required to estimate the potential threat and work out how to avert possible disaster. NASA expert Dr. David Dunham told students at Moscow's University of Electronics and Mathematics, oh, God, I hate when they go out. Who cares? Quote, the Earth's gravitational field will alter the asteroid's path significantly. Further scrupulous calculation is required to estimate the threat of collision, said Dr. Dunham, as transcribed by Russia's whatever. Quote, the asteroid may break into a dozen small pieces or several large lumps may split from it and burn up in the atmosphere. The type of the asteroid and its mineral structure can be determined by spectral analysis. This will help predict its behavior in the atmosphere and what should be done to prevent the potential threat, said Dr. Dunham. In the event of a collision, scientists have calculated that the energy released would equate to the destructive power of a thermonuclear bomb. In response to the threat, scientists have come up with some ingenious methods to avert potential disaster. With the asteroid zooming at that low, it will be too late to do anything with it besides try to predict its final destination and the consequences of impact. A spaceship is needed, experts agree. It should shoot the rock down or just crash into it. What was that Bruce Willis thing? Same like that Bruce Willis movie? I can't remember the name of that movie. Armageddon. I think it was Armageddon, right? Bruce Willis flies himself, boom, right into the big meteor. Anyway, so they could just smash into it and either breaking the asteroid into debris or throwing it off course. Or they say we could paint it, says David Dunham. Paint would affect the asteroid's ability to reflect sunlight, changing its temperature and altering its spin. That's pretty slick. The asteroid would stalk off its current course, but this could also make the boulder even more dangerous when it comes back in 2056. Alexander Devakin, the head of the observatory in Russia, someplace in Russia I can't pronounce, told somebody else whose name I can't pronounce. I don't know what these names are. Whatever the mission, building a spaceship to deal with the 2012 passage of DA-14 will take 2 years at least. The asteroid has proven a bitter discovery. It has been circling in orbit 3 years already, crossing Earth's path several times, says space analyst Sergei Naronkov from the Russian Academy of Sciences. It seems that spotting danger from outer space is still the area where mere chance reigns, while asteroid defense systems exist only in drafts. Still, prospects of meeting 2012 DA-14 are not all doom and gloom. The asteroid may split into pieces entering the atmosphere. In this case, most part of it will never reach the planet's surface. But if the entire asteroid is to crash into the planet, the impact will be as hard as in the Tunguska blast, which in 1908 knocked down trees over a total area of 2,100 square kilometers, or 830 square miles, in Siberia. This is almost the size of Luxembourg. In today's case, the destination of the asteroid is yet to be determined. Yeah, just do a quick Google search on Tunguska, Tunguska blast, and you will see the damage. That thing leveled trees before it even hit the ground. I don't actually think it actually hit the ground. Just the impact of it coming into the atmosphere leveled 830 square miles of trees. Laid them down like matchsticks. Right down. Okay. All right. So there's our Earth and space stuff. Now I came across this because this is something that we talk about on this program. You know, why don't people do something? Do we all ask ourselves that? Why don't people get off their butt and do something? Why don't they? They're trained not to. It's the same reason why all the cows in the field don't stampede and crash through the fence. I mean, I grew up on a farm. We had one little wire electric fence keeping in, 6 or 7 big cows. A cow could easily just walk right through that electric fence. I mean, the electric fence isn't going to kill the cow. I fell into the electric fence plenty of times when I was a kid. Maybe that could be part of the problem. I don't know. But it's the same. Why don't we? Why don't we just go make our own way? Why do we continue to take part, in something that sucks the life out of you? And, of course, look, if you're living in your nice house and your bills are paid and you're not having a hard time right now, then it's really hard to understand or maybe to, relate to what I'm talking about. But the fact remains that even if you do live in a nice house and all your bills are paid, and you're paying a mortgage on that house, you're still renting. You're still renting the property that house is on. Because if you don't pay your property taxes, you lose the house that you supposedly own. You still have to give away, 65% of everything that you make. And that comes in the form of taxes and inflation, which is actually taxes, and the devaluation of currency. So you may be comfortable today, but you see, this is where societies have always run into issues. Nobody wants to get off their butt and do it while they're comfortable. They want to wait until they're living in despair. But see, by the time you're in despair, well, you're in despair. So it would behoove humanity and the masses to just realize and understand that you don't need them. You don't need that system to survive. You don't need it. You don't need the dollar to survive. The oldest form of currency known to man was a stick called a tally stick, and it was used for 700 years. A stick with some string on it. That's it. That's what people use for money. Nobody died. Everybody made it. All right? The dollar's been around for what, 100 years? Just about, more or less, something like that. Not 700. All right. So why don't people do something? Well, this article is intrigued me, and I haven't really read it. I kind of skimmed it a little bit. Are Americans a broken people? Why we've stopped fighting back against the forces of oppression. And a psychologist asks, have consumerism, suburbanization, and malevolent corporate government partnership so beaten us down that we no longer have the will to save ourselves? I can't tell you guys how many times I've talked to people about the situation I think we're in, and how many people's responses were, well, if that happens, then I just want to die. I just want to die. If I can't turn on my TV and I don't have a strip mall down the road and I don't have my ATM card and my iPhone and my Xbox, well, I just want to die. So is that what defines us now? Consumerism? Suburbanization? I mean, think about it. That when I get a response like that, that person has been severely conditioned and is under some severe mind control and really can't think of anything better for themselves. Hell, man, I wouldn't mind running around the woods in a loincloth if that's how far I had to go back. What the hell? I could grow any kind of plant I wanted to, if you're catching my meaning. I could hunt. I could hit a woman over the head and drag her to my kid. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, how can that be that bad? Being so connected with nature. I'm not saying we have to, but I'm just saying, it wouldn't be all that bad, really. Wouldn't be all that bad. All right, so let's check out what this article has to say. Like I said, I haven't read it, and that's how I usually do it on this show. I rarely read the things before I go on the air, so I like to read them together so we can assess it as one, not as a collective, just as one powerful unit. All right. So can people become so broken that truths of how they are being screwed do not set them free, but instead further demoralize them? Has such a demoralization happened in the United States? Do some totalitarians actually want us to hear how we've been screwed because they know that humiliating passivity in the face of obvious oppression will demoralize us even further? I would say yes. What forces have created a demoralized, passive, discouraged U.S. population? Now, you see, that one little group of sentences there, if we think about the situation we're in, as I described it in the beginning of the program, where quite possibly we've always been under this control grid, and the only reason that we are becoming more and more aware of it now is because they're not hiding it so much. And maybe the reason they're not hiding it so much is just because of something like this. Just because of something like this. Because the one thing that we all have to understand and realize is that, like I say, philanthropists are always billionaires. I haven't seen a homeless philanthropist yet. Have you? I haven't seen a philanthropist making minimum wage. They're all like George Soros or Warren Buffett or the next corporate, whatever you want to call these guys, philanthropist guy. I mean, I think Bill Gates calls himself a philanthropist now. So it's the study of humanity, of human beings, and how we react and how we act. And Bill Cooper actually talks about this in Behold a Pale Horse, and he calls it the silent weapon. But anyways, let's move on and check this out. Can people become so broken that truths of how they are being screwed do not set them free, but instead further demoralize them? Yes, it is called the abuse syndrome. How do abusive pimps, spouses, bosses, corporations, and governments stay in control? They shove lies, emotional and physical abuses, and injustices into their victims' faces. And when the victims are afraid to exit from their relationships, they get weaker. So the abuser then makes their victims even more lies, abuses, and injustices, resulting in victims even weaker as they remain in these relationships. It's like Stockholm Syndrome. Well, actually, Stockholm Syndrome, you come to sympathize with your captor or your oppressor. Does knowing the truth of their abuse set people free when they are deep in these abuse syndromes? No. Now, this, I think, sounds pretty interesting because maybe this might give us some insight as to why some people, when you try to talk to them about the truth or what you perceive to be the truth, they're just like, no, forget it, I don't want to hear that. Like I've told this story before. I actually was working on a roof a couple of years ago, and one of the guys I was working with, he didn't believe anything that I say. He thinks I'm a nut job. And so I looked up in the sky, and there was a plane laying down a big, thick chemtrail, and there's another plane laying down a thin, normal vapor trail that was disappearing as the plane was flying across the sky. And I pointed up to him, and I said, hey, do you see the difference between those two planes? And he looked right in my face, and he said, no, I don't see any difference, and went back to nailing down shingles. Okay, so let's see what this paragraph says. So does knowing the truth of their abuse set people free when they are deep in these abuse syndromes? No. For victims of the abuse syndrome, the truth of their passive submission to humiliating oppression is no more than embarrassing. It can feel shameful. And there is nothing more painful than shame. When one already feels beaten down and demoralized, the likely response of the pain of shame is not constructive action, but more attempts to shut down or divert oneself from this pain. It is not likely that the truth of one's humiliating oppression is going to energize one to constructive actions. Well, that would leave us in quite the situation. So then how do we do it? I don't know. Maybe we'll learn. And has such a demoralization happened in the United States? In the United States, 47 million people are without health insurance. Okay, let me just give you guys a clue here. This is from December 11th, 2009. Not that 47 million people still don't have health insurance. That's a whole other issue I'm not going to go into. But I just wanted to give you the date on this article. So in the United States, 47 million people are without health insurance, and many millions more are underinsured or a job layoff away from losing their coverage. But despite the current sellout by their elected officials to the insurance industry, there is no outpouring of millions of U.S. citizens on the streets of Washington, D.C. protesting this betrayal. Okay, we can use any situation, and like I said, I'm not going to go into the health insurance thing. Polls show that the majority of Americans oppose U.S. wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, as well as the taxpayer bailout for the financial industry, yet only a handful of U.S. citizens have protested these circumstances. Remember the 2000 U.S. presidential elections? That's the one in which Al Gore received 500,000 more votes than George Bush. That's also the one that the Florida Supreme Court's order for a recount of the disputed Florida vote was overruled by the U.S. Supreme Court in a politicized 5-4 decision, of which dissenting Justice John Paul Stevens remarked, quote, although we may never know with complete certainty the identity of the winner of this year's presidential election, the identity of the loser is perfectly clear. It is the nation's confidence in the judge as an impartial guardian of the rule of law. Yet, even this provoked few demonstrations. And I always use this analogy. Look, people will get out in the streets, flip cars, light them on fire, fight police if their team wins. But But you pull anything off like the anything off like the NDAA, the Patriot Act, or the Expatriation Act, or the Media Monitoring Initiative, or stealing elections. That's why I say Ron Paul puppets, just like Obama zombies. Not that I don't like what the guy says, but come on, let's use our energy somewhere else. He's either going to be in or out. When people become broken, they cannot act on truths of injustice. Furthermore, when people have become broken, more truths about how they have been victimized can lead to shame about how they have allowed it. And shame, like fear, is one more way we become even more psychologically broken. U.S. citizens do not actively protest obvious injustices for the same reason that people cannot leave their abusive spouses. They feel helpless to affect change. I mean, this is so true. I bet if we looked into the statistics of abused spouses, physically abused spouses, I bet you the statistics would be pretty high as to how if someone would have left, could have left, had left, and come back and end up getting killed or severely injured by their abusive spouse or partner. So it's something within the human psyche that makes us react that way, or a vast majority of us react that way. So, if you don't think the people that beam those flicker rates and ELF waves into your brain on a daily basis, if you don't think they know that, well, they most likely probably do. I believe that's really one of the whole reasons for the switch to digital from analog. What did it really do for us? Allow us to process more information quicker and get a better picture. But in the same time, it left us completely vulnerable to any type of EMP or any type of electric issue, and also made it kind of like a streamline route right into your psyche from that box on your wall or on your shelf known as your television. So shortly before the 2000 U.S. presidential election, millions of Americans saw a clip of George Bush joking to a wealthy group of people, quote, "What a crowd tonight, the haves and the have-mores. Some people might call you the elite. I call you my base," end quote. Yet even with these kinds of inflammatory remarks, the tens of millions of U.S. citizens who have come to despise Bush and his arrogance remain passive in the face of the 2000 non-democratic presidential elections. Well, we have such quotes from Obama about drones, how you'll never hear it coming. Ha 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 ha. At the one of the press dinner, Washington press dinner or something like that. He said that. Perhaps the political genius of the Bush-Cheney regime was in their full realization that Americans were so broken that the regime could get away with damn near anything. Well, that's true. They get away with whatever they want. That's why I say, why is anybody surprised at any of the crazy stuff we see happening? Why is anybody surprised? We shouldn't be surprised. We should come to expect it, because until we stop it, we're only going to keep getting more. We're only going to keep getting more. I mean, why else would we sit here waving American flags as we're and calling ourselves free and democratic, while people get beaten, unarmed people get beaten by paramilitarized police in the streets for speaking their mind, for protesting against things they don't want? And yet we demonize places like Syria, like Egypt, like Libya, like Iran, like Afghanistan, where people supposedly live under oppression. There's no difference. You have to listen to people like Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and George Bush and whoever else you want to throw up there, tell you that, these people are being oppressed and every citizen has the right to free speech and blah, 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 blah. But then you turn the camera back towards Zuccotti Park or Oakland, and what do you see? People getting the crap kicked out of them. It doesn't apply. It doesn't apply here, and it doesn't jive. But the words don't jive with reality, what we actually see. So what forces have created a demoralized, passive, discouraged U.S. population? The U.S. government corporate partnership has used its share of guns and terror to break Native Americans, labor union organizers, and other dissidents and activists. But today, most U.S. citizens are broken by financial fears. There is a potential legal debt if we speak out against a powerful authority, and all kinds of other debt if we do not comply on the job. Young people are broken by college loan debts and fear of having no health insurance. The U.S. population is increasingly broken by the social isolation created by the corporate governmental policies. A 2006 American Sociological Review study reported that in 2004, 25% of Americans did not have a single confidant. Let's see. Sociologist Robert Putnam, in his 2000 book, Bowling Alone, describes how social connectedness is disappearing in virtually every aspect of U.S. life. For example, there has been a significant decrease in face-to-face contact with neighbors and friends due to suburbanization, commuting, electronic entertainment, time and money pressures, and other variables created by governmental corporate policies. And union activities and other formal or informal ways that people give each other the support necessary to resist oppression have also decreased. And this is 100% true. I said, comment in chat, do I think our leaders are a bit hypocritical? Just a smidge. But this is what I was saying. I know I refer to movies a lot, you guys. I do. I use them as reference points. I don't know why. It could be my inability to cut the Matrix out of me completely. I don't know. But I was watching that old movie from the was it the 80s, Dazed and Confused. You know, it was a high school kid movie, and I saw it a long time ago. And man, I mean, if you just look at the difference of lifestyles, from then to now. You know, I have an iPhone, okay? And, I mean, people, if you pull the electronic devices out of our hands and look at what people are doing the majority of their time, we're looking down. I honestly believe that the reason we have these mobile devices like this is to get us to look down. Because if we're looking down, our field of view is very, very narrowed. Instead of looking straight ahead, around, and up, I know what's below me. It's the ground. What's ahead of me? What's above me? I break it down to that kind of thing, and never mind the stuff that this thing is, that this smartphone or this mobile device and the digital beam coming out of your television. Never mind all that stuff. Just look at the physical effect it has on the human body, on taking up the majority of time of somebody's day, which is going to transfer into the majority of somebody's life. How many of us actually out there feel weird if we don't have our mobile phone on us anymore? If we don't have it on us, do we feel a little weird, a little uncomfortable? Why is that? Is that because now we're left to our own devices? We can't bury ourselves in this little screen if we don't want to deal with something, or we don't want to get into an uncomfortable situation. We don't have to talk to somebody. We can just look at the screen like we're doing something. I believe that's what it's for. I really do. I really, really do. So no, I don't think Steve Jobs was a great man. I'm sorry, I just don't. That's my opinion. Besides that, mass suicides making his products. So, the U.S. All right. So let's see. Where am I here? Okay. So we are also broken by a corporate government partnership that has rendered most of us out of control when it comes to the basic necessities of life, including our food supply. And we, like many other people in the world, are broken by socializing institutions that alienate us from our basic humanity. A few examples: schools and universities. Do most schools teach young people to be action-oriented or to be passive? They teach them to be passive. Do most schools teach young people that they can affect their surroundings or not to bother? Pretty much go with the flow for the majority. Do schools provide examples of democratic institutions or examples of authoritarian ones? I'll say the latter. A long list of school critics from Henry David Thoreau to John Dewey, John Holt, Paul Goodman, Jonathan Colos, Alfie Kahn, Ivan Illich, and John Taylor Gatto have pointed out that school is nothing less than a miniature society that young people experience in schools. What young people experience in schools is the chief means of creating our future society. Schools are routinely places where kids, through fear, learn to comply to authorities for whom they have often no respect and to regurgitate material they often find meaningless. These are ways of breaking someone. Yes, this is training. This is indoctrination. Honestly, people, if I had a kid, I would give them the choice to go to school, and I would tell them exactly what school is. I wouldn't push my kid to go get a college degree, not even a little bit. If that's really what they wanted to do, go ahead, do it. I'd say, but I would think you're smart enough to figure out how to make your way through life on your own merit. That's what I would try to teach my kid. I don't have them, so it's easy for me to say. I mean, once you get past arithmetic and, spelling and writing and some basic science, you're left to opinion and stories. That's it. So mental health institutions. Aldous Huxley predicted today's pharmaceutical society. He predicted it. Quote, "It seems to me perfectly in the cards," he said, "that there will be within the next generation or so a pharmacological method of making people love their servitude." I don't doubt that at all. Do you know, I believe it's Vermont. I believe Vermont just passed a law where now you can no longer opt out of vaccinations based on religious beliefs. Vermont. That's a bad sign. That's a real bad sign. Someone may want to check that, but I'm pretty sure I just read that today or yesterday. They all blend together in the Matrix, people. I can't tell the difference. Today, increasing numbers of people in the U.S. who do not comply with authority are being diagnosed with mental illnesses and medicated by psychiatric drugs that make them feel less pained about their boredom, resentments, and other negative emotions, thus rendering them more compliant and manageable. Oppositional defiant disorder. This is a real thing, you guys. Yes, I did talk about the solar flare in the beginning. Oh, you know what? I actually skipped right over it. X1 solar flare incoming to the planet, and will probably, decide if it's going to kind of hit us maybe. This is according to NASA and NOAA. You can't trust them as far as you can throw them. We should get impacted on Wednesday. Auroras by Thursday. That's what I know. But the sunspot that ejected that X1 flare is still turning towards us. So if it belches another one out in the next 48 hours or whatever, it could be, Earth-directed. But again, remember, the size, that labeling doesn't really matter. There's other things that come into play and as we learned over the past couple of years. Anyways, back to this. Sorry, took a sidetrack there. Just answered a question in chat, everybody. So they came up with this thing, oppositional defiant disorder. ODD is an increasing popular diagnosis for children and teenagers. The official symptoms of ODD include often actively defies or refuses to comply with adult requests or rules and often argues with adults. What the hell? You know what? All of us, back in my day, when I was in grade school, the vast majority of us would have had oppositional defiant disorder. Did we turn out to be bad people? No. We turned out to be people that talk about stuff like this, which is what they don't want. An even more commonplace reaction to oppressive authorities than the overt defiance of ODD is some type of passive defiance. For example, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Studies show that virtually all children diagnosed with ADHD will pay attention to activities that they actually enjoy or that they have chosen. In other words, when ADHD-labeled kids are having a good time and in control, the disease, quote-unquote disease, goes away. Well, look, there's a famous quote, and I cannot remember who said it, but I'm sure if you punch in the quote, it'll come up for you. The pharmaceutical industry, I believe, was somebody in the pharmaceutical industry, said the main objective is basically to figure out how to medicate healthy people. And here you go. Make up all types of psychological mumbo-jumbo and diagnose it as a disease and a disorder. And whammo-bammo, then you're prescribing things and you have a much more compliant, controllable citizen. Check out, I think it's Spielberg or Lucas that did a movie a long time ago called THX. All of society revolved around taking your medications in the morning. There you go, another movie reference. I can't get away from it. You know, there's also, I'm coming off the article here for a second, there's also the fun vac. Did you guys ever hear about the fun vac? The fun vaccine? It stands for fundamentalist vaccine. So if you have a strong belief in something, this vaccine actually targets a part of your brain to make you not have such strong feelings about that. The fun vac. That's a real thing. Fundamentalist vaccination. And of course, they sell it to you as it'll stop terrorism, the fundamentalist terrorist. It'll stop them. So we have to get the fun vac, on the market. And you see, the more that we get caught up in a big government system where you become more and more dependent on the government, well, you're going to have no choice. And they'll say, well, like they just did in Vermont, I'm sorry, I don't care if you're against vaccinations. You have to have them, and so do your children. And if you don't want to take them, this is what we're going to do. We're going to, A, take your children away because we'll label you as an abusive parent. And not only that, we'll fine you. Perhaps we'll even imprison you. And these will be compounding things. You'll have no choice. No choice. Because it's not about making you better. It's about making you more compliant. When human beings feel too terrified and broken to actively protest, they may stage a passive-aggressive revolution by simply getting dressed, staying drunk, and not doing anything, or posting on Facebook. That would be another way to do it, right? A passive-aggressive revolution, posting on Facebook all day. I've about had it with that thing. That's all I have to say. By simply getting on... Okay. This is one reason why the Soviet Empire crumbled. However, the diseasing medicalizing of rebellion and drug treatments have weakened the power of even this passive-aggressive revolution. Television, in his book, 4 Arguments for the Elimination of Television, Jerry Mander, after reviewing such totalitarian critics like Orwell and Huxley, compiled a list of the 8 ideal conditions for the flowering of autocracy. Mander explained that television helps create all 8 conditions for breaking a population. Television, he explained, number 1, occupies people so they don't know themselves and what a human being is. 2, separates people from one another. 3, creates sensory deprivation. 4, occupies the mind and fills the brain with prearranged experience and thought. 5, encourages drug use to dampen dissatisfaction. Number 6, centralizes knowledge and information. 7, eliminates the musemize or other cultures to eliminate comparisons. And number 8, redefines happiness and the meaning of life. Like they say in Network, you dress like the tube, you eat like the tube, you think like the tube, and that's why the tube is in your house. And on that note, everybody, show is over. I will see you all next Thursday. But until that time, look, be safe, remember the good stuff, and take care of each other, okay? I'll see you all on Thursday. But until then, take these words of wisdom to heart, and thanks for being here.
Your choice is simple. Join us and live in peace, or pursue your present course and face obliteration. We shall be waiting for your answer. The decision rests with you.